Hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another weekly update on things going on in DCS world. I'm your host, of course, Prickly Hedgehog. Join me now as we talk about the A-10C2 a little bit more, some nice little tweaks that we've seen from Eagle Dynamics announced. This includes the flight model and also an update to that mighty GAU 8A cannon. And of course, the news about the Flying Iron Simulations' aircraft, which is the A-7E Corsair, which I picked up last weekend, of course, and a lot of interest in that, and I'll throw up yet another little link to that video so you can check it out for yourself. So let's start with, well, let's talk about the patch. For starters, there has not been a huge patch this week in the open beta. I know normally around about mid-month we get something. Sometimes it is the third week of the month or so. However, this week we have no major patch. Like I said, we do have these other little updates. There is, however, a major patch for the stable version of the game. This was released on the 9th of this month. So if you haven't played the stable version of the game, and I know a lot of you do talk about not having access to open beta or not wanting to have two versions of the game, or just for whatever practical reason are unable to run both versions, remember too that if you do run open beta, you will have access to the early access module. So if there's a new aircraft that you've purchased and you were expecting to see it in the open, in the stable version, oftentimes it will not appear there. It's not only available to be accessed if you have the open beta. So that's the caveat. But the good news is that Eagle Dynamics have been working very, very hard to make sure that there isn't this massive gulf between the two versions of the game, which was the case prior to this year, especially prior to 2.5.6, which was released with a lot of bugs and a lot of issues, and there was a little bit of a backlash in the community. Eagle Dynamics have recognized some of the foibles with that, and so it was mentioned that they were going to throw attention at the stable version of the game, so there wasn't a wild disparity with what people were seeing on YouTube often, which is typically amongst people like me, the YouTubers, that collection. Typically they're running open beta versions of the game, not always running the stable versions for footage of new stuff. So Eagle Dynamics have been very hard to make, working very hard to make sure at least that the stable version receives attention, and there's a big patch there now ready to download if you haven't opened the standard version for some time. And I haven't in my case, so I've got to actually do some adjustments and open up the game and get all those new goodies for the stable version of the game, which is cool. Well, let's talk about the Flying Iron Simulations aircraft, the Corsair. Now, if you're not familiar with Flying Iron, they are an Australian company, and they've been working on this for some months now. And this was announced earlier this year, as I mentioned, and they have moved from the Phase 1 period of development of the aircraft into Phase 2, which they announced on their Facebook page. They do have a Discord as well. And what they are saying is that they have made some pretty good progress based on the images that they were able to show us and some of the things that they were willing to describe. So it gives us kind of a broad, guesstimate of when this aircraft will be in play. I expect maybe something 2021, late 2021, probably even as late as this time next year. If everything goes according to plan and they don't have any hiccups. Again, this is a guesstimate, not gospel. No word yet, of course, on the actual release. No word yet on the actual price. I would imagine that this aircraft will be similar to the other super module releases. So we're talking probably $80. That's a guess. Flying Iron Simulations, of course, no stranger to the sim world. They have produced aircraft for other platforms. I believe for X-Plane. I'm not sure about Prepared 3, but anyway, they have produced other aircraft, so they're not completely devoid of experience in the sim world, but they are new to Eagle Dynamics, and they are working diligently to produce what should be a great aircraft for the naval warfare component of this game, which I think is nice, and it's going to be, as I always say, a nice addition to the game. Eagle Dynamics have done a great job with the supercarrier. They are continuing to do little updates there, here, there, and everywhere, including they have talked about some new animations for the deck crew and also some other little adjustments there for that particular module. Remember, it is a separate module. Plus, remember, we will have a hangar area where we will be able to, I don't know if we'll be able to get our aircraft in there to see, but there will be a ready room type place for pilots to hang out. So there's still quite a lot of work in progress for that particular module, which is exciting. So let's talk about the other news too. The flight model of the A-10C2 has seen some adjustment, and this was or is going to be for the instantaneous turn rate, which was tested and improved. It was noticed during the test that maintaining near stall angle of attack was a little bit tricky due to the buffeting, and they have tuned the buffeting model to match the reference charts, and then the tests were conducted again in the same conditions. So load factor fluctuations are now gone, resulting in the ability to maintain near stall AOA. Now, there is a report, apparently. I haven't been able to access it. For some reason, the link was broken, so I apologize. I will try and bring that to you as soon as I can. Now, lastly, the GAU-8A, the mighty cannon on this wonderful aircraft, has also received a update. Now, if you're not familiar with this is the Avenger 30mm hydraulically driven autocannon, which, as they have said here, has received an improved set of sound effects to take advantage of better Doppler shifting, sound delay between the round impacts, round flight, and cannon fire effects. The 7-barrel Gatling-style gun is capable of delivering 4,200 rounds per minute, striking fear into any surrounding enemies. Many people have said or refer to this as the sound of death. You do not want to be on the receiving end of this particular weapon. It is a beauty, and of course it is a pretty devastating weapon, not only for armored targets, but it can also destroy quite a lot of other things too, as to be expected, and it is capable of a real, devastation, really, depending on, if you have the depleted uranium rounds in it as well. It obliterates tanks. It's designed with that purpose in mind. So quite a phenomenal weapon, a lot of fun to fly. Now, if you want to see some images outside of my own, I'm still getting to grips with the A-10C, learning a lot more about the aircraft and the subsystems, trying to get my head around some of the things that people are describing. I know Wags does great videos, but sometimes it's hard to transition between what's being referred to and what you need to do. So if you're looking for a little bit more specific stuff, and certainly if you own a Thrustmaster Warthog, HOTAS, then Ralphie Dude's probably the man to go to, but there are other people as well doing videos. Right now, the best videos that I've seen, hands down, Ralphie Dude. There are other people doing it. I kind of want to discuss some of the things that I've noticed as I've gotten to grips with it myself that aren't quite clear that people are referring to. If you're having trouble with the referencing the different hat switches and things that they're talking to, some of it's not exactly clear, especially for people that are very, very comfortable with the joystick. So maybe looking at just referencing what specific tools that they're talking about with regards to where your fingers are going to be. If you want to see just the aircraft in action outside of Ralphie Dude and not necessarily wanting the tutorial, CW Lemoyne, Mover, and one of his buddies was flying the aircraft this week in a couple of excellent videos. A lot of fun to watch, and very, very high praise. Mover actually said at one point, and I think he was using VR, I did ask him that question, but obviously with all the other comments, he didn't pick out my particular one, but I believe he is using VR. I wasn't sure, but he said, hey, he was just so much high praise for the cockpit. He said, man, they've done a really great job on this. I feel like I'm in an aircraft. Now, when an actual pilot says those things, you know that the developer has done something right. And I know for a fact that Eagle Dynamics have done a tremendous amount of work on this aircraft. They had to, because they were working in conjunction with the Air Force on this, I believe, to get the best out of this particular aircraft, including some of the new weapons that they wanted to bring to bear as well. So, this version of the aircraft in the game is absolutely fantastic. I love it to bits. It's my favorite aircraft right now, and previously I haven't really been all that endeared to it, just because of the learning curve and all the rest of it, and it is a little bit fiddly trying to get my head around some of the things that I need to do. But after watching Ralphie dude's videos, and then checking out WAGs, looking at a little bit of Grim Reapers, and kind of piecing bits and pieces together. Primarily Ralphie Dude is where it's at. Like I said, if you're looking for specific tutorials and helpful information and how to do things practically, I think he's the best. Nothing wrong with Wags' videos, but they're a lot more truncated, it feels to me. He's very specific about what he's doing, and he also does show you the controls and things like that as well. But it does take time to kind of get your head around that as well, and translate that from the screen and what you're watching and what you're being told, and then putting it into your own joystick and your own movements. So there is some translation there that has to occur. It's not just a one-to-one. But Ralphie Dude's pretty good at getting that one-to-one, I feel. He has a good instinct for what new players struggle with and how to describe the things that need to be explained so that you can kind of get to grips with it. So again, that's a real big plug for him. But yeah, he is the best right now in terms of tutorials, in my opinion, on this particular airframe. All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of another shorter video this week. Sorry for that. Obviously, I hope to bring you news shortly, and I will as soon as I hear anything about the F-14A. I haven't been bold enough yet. I haven't run into, like I've said, some of the developers from Heatblue who are lurking on a closed channel. So, but I will try and hit them up for some news. Or maybe one of them's watching and maybe they can clarify. But feel free to ask them too on their Facebook page as well if you're familiar with that. And I probably should check. Maybe I should check now and just see if they, while I'm recording, let's see if they've said anything. I'm going to do this live here. Oh, come on, my internet's... I'm having issues with my internet tonight. Actually, I probably need to restart the computer because my internet is running like a chloroform snail, and I don't know why. It's really frustrating. Last night I was downloading huge patches for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think it was about a 14 gig patch, and I was trying to watch a video. So this is not working. I was trying to watch a video at the same time, and I was listening to music, and I completely munted my internet, and I don't know why. Yeah, this is just not working. All right, well, I will bring you separate updates for that, of course. I will not leave you out of the loop because I'm very excited about this particular aircraft. Looking forward to seeing how the engine sounds different from the B variant. So lots to consider with that particular aircraft. I know it's a retrograde step for a lot of people. Some people have even said, why would you even want that aircraft? Well, for a lot of people, remember, it was a nostalgia factor. And the F-14A, even though the B came out, the Bombcat, and was fitted with the G110 engines, along with a small number of F-14Ds, which were completely refitted with modern avionics, similar to the F-18s that were being developed at the time, and also some more fly-by-wire type stuff to replace the analog equipment in the aircraft, which made it a little bit more challenging to fly. The F-14A still stayed around. It didn't disappear. It wasn't replaced. So that's why Heatblue have promised to deliver the F-14A, because it was still in service during the same period as the F-14B and the F-14D, even though it was perhaps in some respects slightly inferior, mainly around the engine. But as pilots pointed out, with the better engines, they said effectively, hey, now I can fly the aircraft and not fly the engine. So that is why, to some extent, the A is in there. It's going to be a different challenge of flying for those pilots who are interested in that particular aircraft. All right, let's wrap it up. Once again, I want to thank everybody for all the likes and subscribes, the comments, the feedback, and the general positivity about the channel. I'll keep doing content and complete things for you to review and talk about as the winter comes on. I just saw a little bit of snow here in Minnesota today. Unbelievable. So maybe that will be a cold winter and I'll have more time to fly. But, I also have other projects that I'm still working on as well. So that kind of constrains my ability to get out videos. But I'm going to do my very best this year to, at least over the winter, to bring you more content. So keep liking and subscribing. Keep mashing those little buttons and let me know what you think. Other than that, stay safe out there. Carry on flying. And I will see you next time. Prickly Hedgehog out. Cheers, guys.